So Yujiro Hanma is an extremely well-built man standing about 6 feet 3 inches and weighing about 265 pounds. His neck is exceptionally thick, even when compared to the rest of the fighters such as Pickle and Biscuit Oliva. His legs are extensionally long and he has red wavy hair, thick black eyebrows, and red eyes. And although Yujiro isn't as tall and so over-muscular as some other characters, his body is still trained to the utmost limit. He is also known as the world's strongest creature, because he has achieved unparalleled levels of strength and power, to the point where even governments such as the United States government has a friendship treaty with him. His father, Yujiro Hanma, is a very large, muscular man with exceptionally large, broad shoulders and is noted by many not to be considered human. He has dark-colored hair that he ties in a simple ponytail, and like many men in the Hanma bloodline, he has the demon on his back muscles. The true depths of Yuichiro's strength is still currently unknown, but those who've come across him suggest he is inhumanly strong. It is unknown if Yuichiro is stronger than Yujiro, but it is stated that he was the only man he never defeated. However, there is currently no evidence of them having fought at all in the past. This is most likely due to Yuichiro's death, which occurred most likely when Yujiro was quite young. On the other hand, Yujiro's mother was a beautiful woman with long black hair. When she gave birth to Yujiro in 1960, she was immediately taken by the fear, because she somehow managed to understand the will of her newborn son and immediately felt his threatening aura. Yujiro immediately developed his own awareness, and the time that she spent with her son shocked her emotionally, to the point of no longer wanting children after that. Later, when Yujiro began to go on his own, the mother abandoned the place where she lived and decided to go to a temple on the mountains to become a monk for the rest of her life. When Yujiro was 16 years old, he went to war to fight and develop his skills. He was in the Vietnam War, where he fought against the Americans. On the battlefield, he met a woman named Jane, and soon they became companions. But later, Yujiro discovers that her real name is Diane Neal, and she's a Canadian spy for the United Nations. Her task is to lead Yujiro to the UN army that is waiting to attack and kill him. So after finding this out, Yujiro rapes Diane Neal to take revenge on her, and then goes outside and destroys the army waiting for him. Later, Oliva is hired by the American government to get rid of Yujiro under the pretext of eliminating some drug cartel dealers. Oliva introduces himself to Yujiro when they meet, and the young Yujiro lets him know that he knows who Oliva is. Oliva is happy with this fact and starts a short fight with Yujiro. But after a while, Yujiro runs away, saying that he prefers to leave Oliva for another time. Then later, Yujiro appeared at a big and expensive banquet. In this place, for the first time, he meets Emi Akazawa, who comes there with her husband Eiichi Akazawa. Yujiro and Emi almost immediately notice each other in the crowd and starts to look at each other. Later, Yujiro breaks into Akazawa's mansion, knowing that Emi likes him. He asks where Emi is, and then kills Eiichi before her eyes. After a while, Yujiro embraces and kisses Emi, telling her that he likes the bloodthirst in her eyes. He also confesses to her that he wants her to be the mother of his child, and soon after that, Baki is born. You guys might be surprised, but one very weird thing about Yujiro is his sexuality. So as a result of Yujiro's inhumanly high testosterone level, higher than that of any creature on Earth, along with an extension of his arrogance, he has made scientists like Kureha believe that Yujiro thinks of himself as the only truly male specimen on the world, and view everyone else as women, or wimps, who are under the thumb of his dominance, no matter whether they are young, old, or biologically male or female. They are all equally beneath him in his view. As evidence of this, Yujiro raped Joe William, a visibly very masculine man, both physically and internally. It was so shocking for Joe William in the manner that it left him traumatized, and he even said that he didn't realize the woman within him till now. And later, he risked his life in dangerous adventures as a coping mechanism to reaffirm his masculinity. Much later in the series, and after facing Nomu no Sukune II, Yujiro threatened to rape Tokugawa if he continued to speak after being irritated by his earlier words, which caused Tokugawa to feel both shocked and flattered. So, as such, defining Yujiro's sexuality is rather complex, as while he has no problem having sexual intercourse with anybody else, it is driven possibly because he is biologically more masculine than any other organism. So Yujiro Hanma is simply the strongest character in the series, and he is recognized as the strongest creature on Earth, with his strength being equal to, or perhaps even greater than an entire nation's modern military. Yujiro, similar to his father, was able to defeat the American military forces by himself during the time of the Vietnam War, and he was only 16 at the time. Some of Yujiro's greatest feats of strength include pushing back 100 riot police officers, completely stopping the tectonic activity of an earthquake by punching the ground, tapping craters in a concrete wall, easily knocking out a giant elephant that not even tanks could damage, cutting glass with his fingers and crushing a piece of coal to dust. Yujiro's hits are said to have an impact similar to that of a nuclear impact. Whole armies have used their best weapons to stop him, but they were able to do no damage to him. His body's muscles are so strong and durable that he's able to do things like breaking katanas and knives just by gripping them, walking through walls of bulletproof glass, and shaking an entire building by merely tensing his muscles. Although it's also been implied that it was actually his body's aura. In fact, the strength of his finger flicks can be more than enough to defeat some of his opponent, as demonstrated in his short fight with Chamuan. When Yujiro flexes his latissimus dorsi muscles, his back takes the shape of a demon's face, thus increasing his strength and combat abilities. Yujiro is constantly advancing his strength, becoming stronger with each person he defeats every day, essentially devouring them, as he himself tends to say, all the while his demon back is exposed. Yujiro is also very fast. He is shown to move at warp-like speeds, a level of speed that is imperceptible to other characters' vision, almost as if he were teleporting. He can strike with enough velocity that can break the sound barrier and rip through the air, causing extremely intense gusts of wind. Another indication of his incredible might would be his durability. Yujiro is shown capable of taking a full power strike from literally anything or anyone on Earth, without being damaged, or even flinching whatsoever. He's also been shown plummeting out of the top of a 50-story skyscraper and getting up as though it were nothing, and he has never actually been hurt in any serious manner by any of the characters who've managed to land a hit on him in the series. The only exceptions are Kayukaku, who was using the power of his own punches against him, Musashi Miyamoto, who just managed to leave a shallow cut on his neck, and Baki, who could only fight him equally with the help of his demon back. However, even if they do cause some damage, Yujiro's pain tolerance is high enough that he can shrug off most attacks. Yujiro has also been shown effortlessly overpowering the likes of Biscuit Oliva, who is strong enough to cause interference in the GPSs of all the cars on the planet with a punch to the ground, with just his fingers. His body is tough enough to withstand things like bullets, fire, lightning strikes, blades, diseases of any kind, cannonballs, and even missiles, with none of these being able to even penetrate his skin or injure him at all. A genius fighter who is known to have mastered all forms of unarmed combat. His repertoire apparently includes all of the well-known fighting styles such as karate, boxing, taekwondo, jujutsu, wrestling, street fighting, and so on, as well as some more esoteric ones, such as the udonde art, which is an actual system used in the ancient karate. Since the age of 16, he has been fighting on the battlefields using just his bare hands, when he fought against both Americans and Viet Cong in the Vietnam War. Since then, it appears he has obtained respect from the American forces, even going so far as them declaring amity towards him with each new president. Yujiro also innately has a complete and full understanding of the human body and its anatomy, and essentially has complete medical knowledge of each organ and muscle and their respective function. It should also be noted as well that Yujiro has the extraordinary ability to instantly learn and master any skill perfectly after first time seeing it, and he even modifies them to fit him better. He uses this ability to learn and master new types of fighting styles. Yujiro can also directly see all the flaws and weaknesses of others just by looking at them with perfect accuracy. So basically, he has made it clear on multiple occasions that he can master any technique instantaneously, simply upon seeing it used by someone else. However, he rarely uses the techniques of others for reasons other than to demonstrate his skill, and usually resorts to simple martial arts and exchanges of strength. Although he's famous mostly for his strength and unmatched combat prowess, Yujiro has proven many times to be of above-average intelligence and knowledgeable about various topics, mostly related to combat and human body function, but also about the history, course of nature, foresight into the activities of others, and much more. The guy called Stridum once told Baki that Yujiro's mental capacity is far stronger than any muscle on him, which is also a source of his power. So now that we know how strong he truly is, let's have a look at some guys who have the potential to defeat Yujiro. So let's start with Musashi Miyamoto. So Musashi squares off with Yujiro Hanma fairly early on after his introduction in the series. Their fight doesn't have a definitive conclusion, but it was teased that Musashi Miyamoto may have been able to beat and even kill Yujiro. The resurrected samurai was the perfect foil to the established Baki caste. Not only did he primarily use weapons, but he was also someone who approached each fight with the intent to kill his opponent. The fact that he ran counter to every norm established in the series makes him a logical contender to beat the seemingly unbeatable Yujiro Hanma. It was shown early on that Musashi didn't know how to handle modern martial arts, but that changes during his run in the series. So by the end, he was familiar with how to counter most techniques, and likely would have been an even greater threat to Yujiro. Next, we have the prehistoric man, Pickle. So Pickle has a deceptively strong chance of beating Yujiro Hanma in a fight. Pickle is coming off with a loss to Miyamoto Musashi, but he inhabits a unique space within the Baki franchise. Pickle is presumably the only character that is physically stronger than Yujiro, something that Baki specifically notes ahead of their fight. So Pickle might be stronger than Yujiro Hanma, but he is definitively not a fighter on par with Yujiro. Pickle's fighting potential is left open to interpretation, and there are some subtle teases that he's learning actual martial arts techniques through his exposure to other fighters. So basically, Pickle with real fighting skills to go along with his raw strength would potentially be the strongest character in the entire franchise. Next we have Jack Hanma. So Jack Hanma actually has a good chance of potentially beating Yujiro if they fought. This might sound ludicrous at face value, but the reality is that Jack is actually the most protected character behind Yujiro in the series. This isn't to say Jack wins all the time. On the contrary, he was actually on a disastrous losing streak until fairly recently. The key difference between Jack and pretty much every other character in the series is the fact that every loss on Jack's record comes with a crazy comeback. It's strongly implied that Jack could have beaten Baki in the finals of the Maximum Tournament if he didn't suffer complications from his PED usage during the fight. He could have beaten Izu Matobe if Matobe wasn't using weapons and had perfectly prepared to fight Jack. It was even shown that he could have potentially beaten Pickle if the caveman had gone in for the kill after delivering his fight-ending combination. Put all these things together with the fact that Jack recently defeated Nomi no Sukune too, and it's clear that Jack is finally meant to be a definitive top-tier fighter in the series. We shouldn't forget that Jack is a member of Hanma family, and it is possible that Jack might get his demon back activates in the future. And if that happens, Jack will get a massive power-up, and he will definitely decide to face his father once again. So I think that's all we need to know about Yujiro Hanma. So, yeah, that's all, and thanks for watching.